Today, the House Oversight Committee released video of yesterday's deposition with billionaire Leslie Wexner, the man who made Jeffrey Epstein rich enough to run an international sex trafficking conspiracy. Under oath, Leslie Wexner told the committee he had no idea that his friend was an international sex trafficking pedophile.
I think the perspective that I have now, and I think it's really important for this group to understand, is that as I look back at it, I was conned by the world Olympic all-time con artist. And you look at, I read in the news all the people he knew, royalty, kings, princes, and all that. An incredible con artist.
Leslie Wexner opened a store in Ohio in 1963 that quickly became successful, and he built that business into a worldwide empire of thousands of retail clothing stores that made him one of the richest people selling clothing on this planet.
Do you think Mr. Epstein thought you two to be friends?
Objection. I don't know what he thought.
Leslie Wexner says that he handed over his entire fortune to Jeffrey Epstein's control. He gave Jeffrey Epstein the power of attorney to sign checks, to sell assets that belonged to Leslie Wexner, to do anything Jeffrey Epstein wanted to do with Leslie Wexner's money. But now Leslie Wexner says he didn't think they were friends. Even though he contributed the second creepiest entry in Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday book, outdone only by the one with Donald Trump's signature on it, which includes a drawing of a naked woman and the line, "May every day be another wonderful secret." The man who had trouble calling Jeffrey Epstein a friend under oath yesterday admitted giving to Jeffrey Epstein this birthday card signed, "Your friend, Leslie."
Did you yourself write this letter to Mr. Epstein?
Sadly, I did.
Did Ms. Maxwell approach you to write this letter for Mr. Epstein's birthday?
I think the request was to write a card or a note or something for a birthday book.
And did that come from Ms. Maxwell?
I don't remember.
Mr. Wexner, would you please read the main body of the birthday note for the record, please?
I wanted to get you what you want, so here it is. Happy birthday, your friend Leslie.
And what was your understanding of what Mr. Epstein would want?
He was a bachelor, so I drew a pair of boobs. As a kind of a joke and offhandedly, I'd say.
Understand.
I hope you do.
You said a few times throughout this deposition today that you did not consider Mr. Epstein a friend of yours. However, you signed this letter, and I quote, "Your friend Leslie." Why would you sign "your friend Leslie" to someone you did not consider to be a friend of yours?
I don't know.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett asked Leslie Wexner about Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump.
Did you ever spend time with Epstein and Donald Trump?
Together?
Yes.
I want to answer this question accurately. I would go to some of the Victoria's Secret fashion shows. It was very important to the brand. At some of the fashion shows, Jeffrey was there and some Trump was there. And I remember, because Trump would always introduce himself to me. And I always thought it was kind of odd that he was at the fashion show because he had nothing to do with fashion.
Back with us, Congressman Robert Garcia, top Democrat in the House Oversight Committee, present at that deposition yesterday. What was your assessment of his testimony?
I mean, look, Wexner is just not credible, and he wasn't credible during his testimony. I think it is so outrageous, and I'm not sure if Wexner thinks he can just pull a fast one on the committee and the American public. But to say that he was not friendly or not a friend of Epstein's is such a blatant lie. Let's be really clear. I mean, Wexner gave Epstein hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of his own fortune. Wexner gave Epstein the co-presidency of the community he founded in Ohio. He provided him the power over his entire estate. He gave him payments to then pay gynecologists for God knows what. They were friendly. He went to the island. He went to his properties. He wrote him birthday notes. They talked on the phone. They saw each other at events, but they were not friends? Let's be really clear here. Wexner is the reason that there's a Epstein Island, that there's an Epstein plane, that there was enough fortunes and wealth to abuse and rape and terrorize women and children across this country and around the world. That is in large part because of Wexner's fortune. And Wexner has the audacity to sit there and tell us that he wasn't friends with Jeffrey Epstein. It's outrageous. It's unconscionable. And I think that the American public should be as furious as we are at seeing what's happening right now in this country. We are seeing the most powerful billionaires, the most powerful people try to cover up this enormous, horrific sex trafficking ring, probably the largest in the modern era. And the abuse of these women and these children, they deserve justice. And Mr. Wexner is an enormous part of why this harm happened to so many people.
People who've studied this have said there could be no Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking conspiracy worldwide ring without Wexner's money.
It's exactly right. It's just not possible. And you have to think also that Wexner gave essentially the power of his entire estate to Epstein. Epstein was cutting checks and making investments and going into business and doing all sorts of favors for Wexner. We've got to end this cover-up now.
Congressman Robert Garcia, thank you very much for joining us tonight.